In this demonstration, I want to show you how to set up an output DMI to Excel. We've just made our run, and now we want to send reservoir storage, pool elevation, and outflows for both of these reservoirs to an Excel sheet. This demonstration will walk you through the steps. These are basically the same steps to set up an input DMI, and we'll talk more about that at the end of this demo. First, let's open the DMI Manager and create a new DatabaseDMI. We double-click on the DatabaseDMI and give it a new name, Outputs. We want to specify that it's an output DMI, so we're going to change the type. Now we need to add an Excel dataset to this DMI. So we go up to the Datasets menu and click Add New Excel Dataset. First in this DMI, let's configure what slots we want to output. So we click on the dataset and we go up to the Datasets menu and say New Slot Selection. We double-click on the word None and we choose what slots we want to output. In this case, we're going to look at both reservoirs, so we're going to do a wildcard, and then we want to scroll down, and we can either use name filters or just look for them and look for the pool elevation, storage, and outflow. And I'm hitting the control button while I make this selection. I scroll down and I also find it for the other reservoir. Pool elevation, storage, and outflow. Click OK. So now we have those 6 slots selected. We also want to say what time step we're going to output these, and so we'll make it explicit and say from start time step to finish time step, and I'm just right-clicking on this cell here and choosing what specification for the time step I want to use. So now let's go into the data set and give this data set a better name. Outputs to Excel. And we'll click Apply. We don't need a name map for this DMI because we're just going to use the reservoir slot names. We don't need to say what units we're going to use because we want to use the units displayed on the slots in Riverware. But we do need to go into the Excel tab and say where we're going to send this value. And we're just going to type in here C:temp output, and we're going to call it out.xls. We could have gone in and selected an existing spreadsheet or selected to create a new one from this button right here. And we're going to use the Map with Header Text and Sheet Names option for doing the slot mapping. This will allow those slots to go directly into Riverware. We won't need to tell them where. They'll be specified using this header information down here. And so we can say whether we want to have an offset from the upper left corner. We don't. And we can say how we want these slots and these columns to be oriented. So we're going to have time steps as rows, we want to have slots as columns, and we want to have each sheet be a different run. And so this first one is a good option to use for this initial demonstration. And then we need to say what the run name is going to be. So we're just going to type in here a name. In this case it's sample. And we also want to say in this configuration that we want to output the unit names with the slot names. So that's all set up and it's all good. So we click OK. So now we have a data set up. We have the slots selected. We've specified their time step, and it's all done. We click OK. And so now we can go into our DMI Manager, click on the DMI we want to run, and click Invoke. Now we go to that directory where we had it, and we're in C:temp output, and we see that out.xls file was created. We'll open Excel, and we'll highlight these cells, these rows. We'll highlight these columns, double-click, and we'll see, yep, Bartlett's pool elevation, storage, and outflow, Muddy's pool elevation, storage, and outflow. And so in this example, we used the time step slots runs as the rows, columns, and sheets. We could have turned those around and used a different orientation to get the data into Excel in a different way. But this is good enough for our example. So I'll close the Excel spreadsheet. So we just created an output DMI to send 6 slots to Excel using the header approach. It's a similar process to bring data into Riverware from Excel. And here's a good hint for you. This is often the easiest way to set up an input DMI from Excel. First create an output DMI to create the Excel sheet with the required format that has the headers and the dates as they need to be specified, and then use that sheet as your template in Excel. Then in Riverware, turn your DMI around to become an input DMI, run that, and bring in the new data into Riverware. So this was a very quick demonstration of Riverware's DMI functionality to create an output DMI to Excel. Thanks.